And in making that comment, he was transferred. And so when we sat down to look at it, was it the right comment? And we said yes. Was it the right manner? And we said maybe. Was it the right time? And we said no. Because there was a memo from the presidency and asking the minister to do certain things. And as at that point, the emotional atmosphere around the minister was not the right time to have said that. And so the workplace today is what we call a minefield. You know, people know what a landmine is. You step on it, no problem. You remove your leg, and it takes your leg with you. So these are just some thoughts I have learned over the years, and I believe it's, and we could just discuss some things around it. So what I feel is that politics itself, like somebody said something, it says politics is necessary evil and often it's just plain evil. So we've seen it, but the truth is that politics are real and you can't avoid it. And so there are some things I'll talk about along that line. But someone said, unfortunately, it is also how things get done. I have seen people who have said, oh, bring that proposal, let's just give it. MDs approving some things, so they put it together, and that's how they get certain things done. Then the main thing is that politics is real and unavoidable. I'll just mute my video and bring it back on. Um, okay. And somebody said something. He says, not all politics are bad. That is one thing we need to know. It says not all politics, but the truth is that it's also part of human interaction. Like I told somebody once, parents have this lie, which is they love their children all equally. And I tell them that's a lie. We all know that, look, one or two, yeah, we have our favorite child. And so it's part of human interaction. So not all politics is bad. The next one. And now this is where you need to look at BOI and say, okay, how do I categorize how BOI operates? You know, there is what is called the bad office politics, whereby self-promotion over the greater good. What does that basically mean? I mean, things are done, and this is where we need to be careful. Things are done and over the greater good. And we've seen it scenarios. That's why some organizations today do not exist. Nigerian Airways, NITEL, and all of that. And even some government parastatals, they've lost their relevance. Why? Because there was self-promotion over the greater good. It tuned towards um, what people could make. And that's why the other parts where bad office politics goes to the extreme is where you see the ugly office politics, which is that there's a destructive behavior that benefits no one. So people are callous, people are just anyhow, anything goes kind of behavior. It's destructive. And in the end, nobody is benefited. What do I mean by that? I mean, an organization, a government organization did not manage certain things well. And at a certain stage, even paying salaries, a federal government agency, even paying salaries became a problem. But this is where I believe people need to look at what politics is. You see, good office politics is how do you build positive relationships. I tell people this, you see, the alerts an organization gives you is basically 30% of your package. But a lot of times people just focus on the alert. For me, what is the 70% is the relationship, is the access. That is one thing that the work gives you. So when you look at a BOI, like currently you have an Uche who sits in Port Harcourt. But the truth is that because even though Uche sits in Port Harcourt, BOI has enabled Uche to interact with somebody in Meduguri, interact with somebody in Kano. So that is one thing that people can look at what politics can do. It can extend your reach. It can help build certain right relationships into you. Um, so the first thing I want to start off with is what causes office politics. Because you see, if you don't understand the origination of office politics, you think that it is bad. And these are the things that causes office politics. The main thing is scarcity of resources. So there's a scrambling. That is why you see that some offices are seen as more visible or seen as more powerful. Why? Because they have resources. So there's scarcity of resources. And so sometimes when either a boss does something or your subordinate is doing some things, ask yourself, is it a resource related issue? Also, you need to understand it's a competitive work environment. You see, in BOI, like any other organization, the work environment is a triangle. You know how a triangle is, three-sided. At the base, lots of people. At the middle, it thins out. At the top, very few people. And that's how every organization is. So it is a competitive work environment. And the truth is that it is different from maybe some multinationals. Like I give an example, like in Shell, Shell promotes you horizontally and not necessarily vertically. And so, like in a place like some of these multinationals, you can see somebody who is a deputy manager earning more than somebody who is a principal manager in terms of by the time they add the allowances that this person gets. So we need to understand that it's a competitive environment. Sometimes it's like a dog eat dog. What are the causes of? Because it's a competitive environment, you begin to see there are subjective performance standards. How? Andrew does something and they say, oh, this is the first time, no problem. Okay, we'll overlook this. Now, Teju does the same thing, and it's like, what is contained in our code of conduct book. Nobody looks at it as the first time. So somebody gets punished. Then there's what is called the emotional insecurity. What is emotional insecurity? You need to understand that people are in different zones emotionally. How? I give you a classic case. There's this scenario I always say. Somebody says, oh, my father used to ride a bicycle, but now I'm driving a motorcycle. For that person, he never believed that he would get to this level. So for that kind of a person, as far as they are concerned, this is my future. So some people have even plateaued out their career. But for some other people, they are like, no, this is just a phase in my career process. So we need to understand that certain people have an emotional security, meaning that I'll give a classic case. I did something for a multinational, and we're talking life goals. And this man has 16 years in the system. And we asked him, what is his life goal? And he said, look, my goal is to make sure I work here and I retire here. But before I retire, I would want my son to work here because if I live here, I'll die. True life. So certain people have some level of emotional insecurity. That is why when they say, oh, do this, just like when your colleague mentioned, oh, come and do this, and you are like, oh, this thing has, oh, can I talk to CBN? For some other people, they won't even think of that. Oh, Oga said, and they move ahead. Also, another thing that causes office politics is unclear job definitions. So a boss calls somebody and says, hey, delegate an assignment, which you always think that, oh, but this is what this person is supposed to do, and it's delegated to you. So those are some of the causes of office politics. Now, in the midst of this, one of the things you need to analyze is which one affects you. Now, yes, you can. Now, these are types. Now, the essence of this is that we have about 20 people, 16 people from BOI. And one of the things you need to do is that you need to understand, to play politics, you need to understand where you play and what you are up against. Where you play and what you're up against. Now, there are about 5 types, political types in every organization. So we start with the first one, who we regard as a corporate shark. You see, the corporate shark is, they tend to use others to enhance their careers. Now, they are power hungry, they are ruthless and devious, unhesitant to take advantage of situations for their own benefit. So the key question you need to ask yourself, oh, is my boss a corporate shark? Are my subordinates corporate sharks? How do you see a subordinate that's a corporate shark? A subordinate that tells things to your superiors so as to gain favors with them. So they are power hungry, they are ruthless, and they are devious. Now, why are we going this way? Because we have seen people not understanding who they are up against with. And so when it's a corporate shark, I mean, I know a particular case. There was a lady that had to leave an organization. How? She was talking in the meeting, and her subordinates recorded the conversation and sent it to the MD. That's how corporate work. So they use anything to the advantage. And like I said, you need to understand what you're up against. Now, the next thing after the corporate shark is the climber. Now, you see, this person is not as ruthless as the corporate sharks, but you see, they know how to play the political game. You know, one person that is in this is like maybe a Dangote. A Dangote is any government in power method. They are shrewd politicians. They believe that politics is there to meet every end. So that's what I mean. They are shrewd. And so when you look at a BOI, how would you identify a shrewd politician? You see this person that regardless of who the MD is, this person is on the winning side. That is how a climber is. I mean, they are close to the former MD, they are close to this MD, two MDs before this one, they are just there. They are not ruthless, but they know how to play that political game, and which is something we'll try to talk about. How do you play the political game? Now, the third set of persons is known as, so the third person is the survivor. And most of us, from where I hear the comments, we are a bit of the moderate politician, but some of us are climbers also. Some of us will also be corporate sharks. The moderate politician practices some office politics and is aware of the political climate. Now, what's the difference between the survivor and the climber? He believes in it as a survival to an end, meaning that this person doesn't play politics until when he is shoved to the wall. And I could see this in my father, because I remembered my dad was a civil servant, and there was once he did a party for his club, and 2 days later they wrote a petition against him, and we're in Port Harcourt then. And I noticed on a Tuesday that same week, my father, the following week, my father was traveling to Lagos, and I was like, oh, and he mentioned that he was going to see his director. And that's the same thing. He wasn't really going to see director, but now he was pushed to the wall. So for their survival, they start playing the politics. So they are moderate. They know it exists. Now, the other group of people after the survival is this person. He said, not perceived as an office politician. Now, the challenge with this person is that they don't cultivate key people for career enhancements. These people believe and say, my work will speak for me. Honesty is the best policy. So these people say, my work will speak for me. But you see, there's something missing there, not they neglect cultivating key people. Because you see, if BOI is a triangle, to get to the next level, you begin to see that assertions, recommendations from key people begin to matter. And but they use the word, my work will speak for me. So they are not perceived. The key word is they are not perceived. And the last group is what I call the lamb for slaughter. They don't believe in office politics. And you see, the challenge with these people is that they are eaten by sharks. They are taken advantage of by the other people. They don't believe that, oh, I need to network. They don't believe, oh, I need to be visible. It could be their orientation. It could be also what they could call their value system. But within most times, they get taken advantage of. Now, the essence of me going through this 5 is to ask yourself, where do you fit in? So how do you deal with office politics? Number one is you need to associate with powerful managers. The essence is this. What is association? Association is, oh, I have some level of relationship. I have some level of credibility with this person. Because this is what we have seen. At a certain stage in your career, it is not the technical competence that will take you up the ladder. It's the people skills. And that's why somebody says that in this age and time, social capital is very, very important. I'll share a funny story about Bill Gates. Everybody talks about Bill Gates. People don't, they just, oh, Bill Gates dropped out of school and all of that. But the truth is that that's not the story. The real story was that Bill Gates comes from an average, a middle income, high middle income family, not rich, middle income. And Bill Gates' mother and the MD of IBM were in the same NGO. And Bill Gates' mom approached the MD of IBM and said, my son has developed a software. Can he come pitch it at your office? And the man gave a go ahead. I mean, some of us are on this platform. Imagine me just going to your head office and say, I want to see the ED, the executive director. Do you know how long it takes? Some of us are state managers. Can somebody just walk to your office? And that's the same thing. So how do you deal with? You're asking yourself, and this is where I tell people, do your map of BOI. You know the people that are currently in power, you know the people that are influential. You ask yourself, what have I built? And that's why the second thing is building and managing coalition. You see, what's a coalition? A coalition is a team just for that moment. APC was a coalition, and that's how they took over power. So APC was AC plus CPC. And their value systems, their manifestos were different, but because they needed to take power at the center, they formed the coalition. And so you must know that, oh, yes, this is who I am, but oh, I know this person, I know that person, I have access to that person. And it's there. Like now, I give a classic case in organizations. Why do you think vendors come to guys in procurement? But the truth is that when it comes to payment, it's not procurement that will pay them. So they know the other people in finance. Also influence the decision making. And this is where I tell people this. You see, when decisions are being made, there's always a process. Oh, there's promotional list coming out. You need to look at, okay, what will my score be? Oh, and all of that. Then controlling the agenda. What is bringing in an outside expert? Sometimes, and this is what we've seen about organizations. Organizations, I always say this funnily, that look, some organizations, their head office, like somebody said in Lagos, even though the center of government, they say is in Alausa, where is power? They say power is in Bodilon. So that means somebody outside Alausa is controlling Alausa. So there are times in organizations that building, and that's why like people in procurement, finance, you know that, oh, there are certain people that are outside the organizations that are influential. So what are some of my advice? How do you go about? I'll come back, I'll close with this, but I'll just, so what are some of the things? Let me just run through this. I believe that you need to shine at meetings. Why? Because you see, in meetings, that is when you sell your person, you sell your knowledge, you sell who you are. And so I've seen it before. So I go for meetings, I look at the agenda, I am well prepared, and I'm there with my boss. And my boss is saying things, and I'm taking notes. And I begin to, oh, somebody says some things, I jot it down, and I pass it to my boss. And on one or two occasions, my boss has said, oh, Briggs, he will read it and say, oh, and they say, okay, Briggs, can you share what you are thinking of? And I say it. I remembered once we got back to the office and my boss was like, Briggs, why? Because I'm protecting my boss. I need to make my boss shine. And we got to the office and my boss like, Briggs, thanks so much for that. And he just told me something that Femi is like, he's shining because Briggs is there. Yeah. So meetings, like in this program itself, Mr. Bachi would know that, oh, if we look at who are the participants, there are certain names that jumps at us. Why? They've contributed, they've asked questions, they've made things like that. So they shined in this training. Now, this is the other part, knowing how to use compliments. Why did I put it there? I've come to learn that everybody has an ego. Even the person that you said is very humble, they have an ego. And so what is the power of compliments? The The power of compliment is the ability for you to massage that ego. I'm not saying become psychopaths, because you see, this is something I've known about people, especially people high up. They know those that are just dancing around them. And I know a particular governor. When those people dance around them, he basically withholds what they need so that they will continue dancing around him. But once in a while, how do you compliment an influential person? Oh, he's my boss, or he's somebody that, oh, he's one of the people we relate with. And it's like, classic case. We just ended Ramadan. Nothing stops you from sending a Ramadan greetings. Oh, happy Ramadan, Mubarak, and all of that. Oh, you heard that this person, like if there's somebody we knew, oh, he just finished his PhD, and wow, they are now a doctor. And nothing stops you from that. Nothing stops you from, because some of these things are certain things tied to the culture of your organization. So you must learn to compliment people. Don't be generous, but not generous to a fault. Because if you just say, you're this, you're that, they just know you're a psychopath. So when you say things, they don't see. Now, I talk there of talk big, but basically, what do I mean is think outside the box. Every boss, every subordinate, in between, they are looking for solution providers. And I tell people that they might not like you. Like when I talked yesterday about power, there is what is called expert power, and which is that the power you wield based on your competence. And so they are like, oh, this person, that person, oh, this person is critical. He helps, he knows that. The truth is that it keeps you relevant across board. You must also learn to appear cool under pressure. I have a very close friend. He's a grade level 17 officer. Now, his boss, who was a director, had a running battle with the minister. And at a stage, the minister removed his boss. And so when the new MD came on board, he was a marked man. And for 2 years, this gentleman is a grade level 17 officer. He didn't have an office. They transferred him to a unit that didn't even exist. He had no staff. He didn't have an office, a grade level 17 officer. And he was living in the estate. And in the evenings, he would take walks and all of that. Now, there were some times he was under financial pressure. And he would talk to me. I said, oh, let's talk to this person. Let's reach out. They had a cooperative he could have well. But the truth is that I told him, I said, you see, when you call and they say, oh, you are under pressure, they'll say, yes, we are hitting him hard. So you must learn, and that's one of the things when we looked at emotions, you must learn to appear cool. You must learn to soak up the pressure. You must learn to display good corporate manners. And this last two is critical. You must learn new skills and know how to sell them. Now, when you go and look at a BOI and where BOI is going, what are, like somebody in reconciliation, somebody in recovery, what are the things that if you know would be an added advantage to your organization? I know a gentleman in that unit, they collect so much data and they present it. And this gentleman went to learn Power BI. And so when it was turned for his presentation using infographics and all that, and then the boss was like, wow, this is good, this. And so all of a sudden, he became a go-to guy. They get the data, they say, oh, forward it to Shehu Wood, and all of that. So he just became relevant. And finally, you must be a team player. So what are the things I believe that these are just my survival tips that I learned? Number one is you must know what your political tools are. Sometimes we spoke about assertive communication, and sometimes you can speak assertively to get a compromise, a win-win. Also, sometimes you must know how to escalate. You must know how to escalate. You must know how, like what I talked about, not the climber, the survivor. The survivor is someone that knows how to escalate. I mean, when push comes to shove, you need to know how to escalate. I have a there's an associate in one of the government agencies, and she said, oh, they're about going into their manpower planning, and one thing they do in that government organizations, they will tell you the roles that are opening up. And she said, oh, she was targeting this role. I said, okay, you know what? We sat down, we did a bit of a map and says, who are the influential people to get you into this role? And we said, oh, and at a certain stage, her letter to apply, sorry, Wale, can you please go back? Her letter to apply for that role was being delayed. And so what did she do? She walked up to their, like a DMD, because he was the chief operating officer, one of the chief operating officers, and raised it up with him. And he picked up his phone and called the unit responsible, because if she had missed that window, she wouldn't get that position. So you must know when to be a compromise and all of that, and when to escalate. The second thing is there, yes, the next slide, is you must seek out a mentor. You see, when you play office politics, you must have somebody internally or externally if the person is influential, because you see, a mentor, or what somebody calls a corporate sponsor, is critical. One day, one of my online mentors sent me an email. He said, Briggs, and the email surprised me. He said, Briggs, who is your godfather? And so I chatted him up on Skype. I said, Andrew, sorry, funny enough, his name is Andrew. I was like, where is this coming from? Where did you learn Godfather? Did you come to Nigeria? And this man sits in an organization, and he said something. He said, they just downsized by 5%. And he said the names of the people he has are the names that they were mentioned in the meeting and nobody could talk on their behalf. Now, what does a mentor do for you? You see, a mentor has experience. A mentor, that's why there's a saying that says, an old man can sit at the bottom of a tree and see further than somebody, a young man sitting on top of the tree. So seek somebody that advises you. Seek for somebody, and it's good if you have somebody internally, because he can tell you that, don't go this route. 7 years ago, we had this MD, this, and all that. Or if you can't get internally, get externally. Because you see, the truth is that experience is not the best teacher, rather the knowledge of experience. One of my mentors is a former DG, and I know how Suraj has really helped me navigate in my career and all of that. So seek out a mentor. A mentor is somebody you share similar values and he can advise you. Thanks. You can go to the next slide. Now, this talks about you must plug into your company's information pipeline. I tell managers this, team leads this. Somebody comes to your table and says, okay, this is what's happening, oh. And you're like, I'm just hearing it. That's totally wrong. I mean, it's happening in your unit and you're just hearing it for the first time. What that means is that you are not plugged into your company's information pipeline. You need to, and that's where, one, you need to do a map. What are my sources of information? Who are the people in my camp? So what kind of informations do I have? Because you see, when you are not plugged into your information, the company information pipeline, the truth is that you'll be left behind. Decisions will be made and they could become not favorable to you. So you must know what is coming up. And you see, in your organization in BOI, there are people that know what is happening. I have one of my clientele, DPR, because I have engaged them, there are sometimes I say some things and somebody like, are you a DPR staff? Why? Because I have plugged into their company information pipeline. And so this part is very critical. What informations do you have? And how do you get information? It depends on sources. How do you get those sources? That's why the essence of cultivating these relationships are key. And how do you cultivate a relationship? You set up small. There are people that live what I call triangle lives. What's a triangle life? Walk home, Friday, walk home, mosque, walk home, mosque. Now, the truth is that you must be able to gist. You must be able to sustain, because you see, the truth is that not everything is about BOI. When bosses talk, when people talk, not everything is about work. So if you don't know how to gist, I'm not saying being a talkative, but you see, for you to cultivate a relationship, you must know how to gist. You must know how to relate. You must know how to, like, oh, say some things. We call it a 5 minute chat. Like, I know a particular organization, one routine they have, they come into the office. Now, that's before some of us were still working from home. But those days of physical, they come into the office. Now, the routine is they have a coffee, of course, it's an oil and gas firm. So they have, like, oh, you can go grab a cup of coffee. But you see, when you go grab a cup of coffee, you don't take it straight to your seat. You walk to your colleague's table. Ah, how's everything? Ah, man, you people did not make top four, Arsenal fans. So that means no Europe for you. You know, you just gist. Why are you gisting? Because you see, small talk helps people to feel you. In another organization, I know, and the thing about, you see, politics aligns with culture. In this particular organization, they have this funny culture. How they know you came to work, it is how your morning greeting to your superior is. How? I mean, they don't have like an official time. Maybe you need to get to work for 9. But the truth is that even if when you get in by 10, you just stop by your boss. I mean, it's just there. Oh, knock on the door, you people. Oh, morning, sir. How are you, sir? How's the family? This, and all of that. Now, someone shared a story of this guy just got transferred, just joined the organization. He'll just come and do his work. And one day he was passing, and his boss said, when did you come in? And he said, no, I've been here since 8:30. Said, oh, okay. And somebody was like, you see, that's how it is. Or God did not know that you come to work early. But that's the same thing. You must learn to gist. You must learn to build rapport. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. And that's the same thing. There are certain people that before they know it, they have separated themselves. Because you see, what I've seen in organizations is that even though organization is a formal structure, the informal at times oversees the formal. How? I have seen people go and get approvals in a birthday party. I've seen people get approval attending a burial ceremony. I've seen people different things. In those small talk meetings, people say things that are office related. So learn the art of small talk. The next thing I would also say here is, I've spoken about it. Build a network of people, like-minded people. Why do you need to build a network of like-minded people? When Teju asked the question and said, if you voice something, you can be marked. Now, the truth is that Teju needs to have a network of the kinds of people that can voice things. Why? Because you see, somebody said, why do catalysts? We all know what a catalyst is. A catalyst is a chemical compound that triggers a reaction. However, the reaction is not, the reaction doesn't change its composition. And so if Teju is a catalyst, for her to survive, she needs to have a network of catalysts in BOI. Why? Because your network gives you room. It also helps you. It strengthens you. It motivates you. You can't be a soloist and survive in a corporate organization. Because even star performers, I've seen this before. When a star performer, like when Uche was saying, oh, I go, I bring in this, I go, I bring in that. The truth is this: if Uche runs totally as a soloist, at a certain stage, she begins to build enemies in the system. So Uche would have other people who are like her, and they know how they go about their business, so that there is an interaction, there is a gist, and this same network you have built also serves as your information, one of your information channels. Then apart from building a network, you also have to learn how to build coalitions, which is the next thing. And I've also described coalitions. Coalitions is that, oh, this person, we don't share sometimes the same values, but oh, he's my friend, he's my associate, and all that. Because, you know, you need to build coalitions. How? Because you see, sometimes when decisions are taken, your network might not be there, but there's no how sometimes decisions are taken that an associate is not present. So you must learn to build coalitions. What has made Dangote survive up to now? Coalitions. I tell people this: where is Dangote? He's from Kano. Where is his refinery? It's in Lagos. Before now, Dangote started building that refinery during the eras of PDP. And where was the refinery? In an APC controlled state. So how does he do it? He builds coalitions. And this other part is very key. Because I talked about the sharks, you must learn to keep an eye on the sharks. Don't just leave, I mean, because you see, these sharks are ruthless people. They just want to get their way. They just want, it's just, they're also selfish. So don't just assume that, oh, he can't do anything and all that. They keep trying. So you must keep an eye on the shark. I remembered once, I mean, it was a funny, I had a boss and I was doing a presentation. My group head, we were doing a presentation. And I shared this presentation with my boss. And he looked at it and he said, oh, it looks okay and all that. When I went to present it, the MD was pissed off. He said it was a waste of their time and turned to my boss and said, how come, why is Briggs thinking this? Why is he sending this, you know? And my boss said, I wonder. Man, I almost entered the ground. And so when we left, of course, I didn't say anything. I didn't come back at him until somebody said, you know what, Briggs, actually, when you were moved to that department, your boss wanted this other person. And so you could imagine working with a boss who was a shark. He was basically looking for any loophole. And so I made sure, I mean, when my boss says, do this, I'll do an email and table everything word for word. I said, based on your instruction, A, B, C, kindly find attached this. Because you must learn to keep an eye on the shark. The other things, as we wrap up this session, is you must learn the right way to gripe. What is gripe? You must have a way to vent. And that's why you need a network. You see, they say something in organizations, even though we're having a Zoom meeting, the walls have ears. And so you can't go in public and say something about your boss or your subordinates. So you must have a way where you vent. And as possible, venting helps you. Why? Because you see, when you don't vent, you are going to bottle up issues. And when you bottle up issues, for some people, they don't know when they break it. I mean, you could say something, and that's what they've been waiting for. You just get rude suddenly, or you just say something. So you must create avenues where you can vent, but you must learn to vent to the right people. How? I'll give you a classic case. One day in an organization, somebody had an issue with his boss, and somebody advised him and said, look for your boss's friend and just explain things to him. And he did that. And his boss called him and said, I hear you're going around reporting me. Because the person he told went and told the boss, why now? This guy came to report you to me. So you must have people, you gripe to people that you have credibility with and are watching your back. You don't just open your mouth before every Tom, Dick, and Harry. It's the same thing with your subordinates. You don't just tell somebody, oh, like a lady went and complained about her subordinates, and somehow the person who she complained it to was like, oh, this person that comes, and basically told somebody that comes from the same area with her subordinates. And the next thing the organization heard was she was being tribalistic. So I believe that you must learn, you must vent, but you must know how to vent, because you put in so much and you don't want to get careless. Yeah, the next one, I think now this part is very key. Be prepared to have the hard conversations. And this part basically deals with what we just talked about, which is assertive communication. The truth is that, how are you going to be assertive? Now, what are hard conversations? Opinions differ, the stakes are high, and you need results. So how do you go for a hard conversation? Number one, you need to be tactical. What is meant by tactical? I'm going to ask for a request. The truth is I need to ask myself, what are the questions my boss is going to ask me? What are the likely questions? Also, like Mr. Bachi said, you need to separate facts from opinions. Facts from opinions. So when you are talking, it's not just an opinion, it's a fact. It's fact-based um, things you are discussing. So you need to be tactical. One, what is my boss likely going to ask? I want to make this request. What are the objections? And you need to answer them and be sure that yes. And because those are the things. The other part is that you need to weave a story. You see, one of the things that story does for us is that it validates our conversations. So somebody like one of so we're giving it to them. Now they are telling me that I can't access the facility. And first and foremost, the customer is irate at you. You deceived me. You gave me false expectations and all that. And you need to go see your boss to say, oh, can this thing be reconsidered? Now, the key question is one thing that will validate it is what story do you have to drive your points home? And that's why one of the ways lawyers, we have a legal officer here, one of the ways lawyers win cases is the ability to present precedents. Oh, in 1985, between the government and Lawrence Osage, this and all of that. So, but you must be prepared to have a hard conversation. Don't go into, like sometimes if you need to even discuss with your subordinates, sometimes because also so when I'm going to discuss with my subordinates, I'm going to say what is their reaction going to be, how do I address those reactions, what story can I come up with, what precedence is there, and all of that. You can't and this is where assertive communication comes in, because when you are prepared for this hard conversation, the approach comes from an assertive nature. And finally, I think two more. Like I've already said this, always maintain your composure. Yes, you can move to the next slide. Always maintain your composure. Be cool under pressure. Now, this part is very critical. Know your boundaries and your limitations. You see, the fact I have access to Mr. Abachi, I also know my boundaries and limitations. So my communication style, my approach, how I say things matters. Why do I say this? Never get too familiar with both sides of the scale. Which one side? Never get too familiar with your bosses. Never get too familiar with your subordinates. When certain, because you see, on the subordinate side, not every subordinate knows how to manage access. So you tell the subordinate something, and before you know it's all over the same place. Or your boss tells you some things, and all over you know it. So you must ask yourself, what are my boundaries? I talked about legitimate power yesterday. Understand what your boundaries are. Oh, I can do this, and these are my limitations. Because it always helps. It always helps. Like I like the response your colleague gave as regards somebody's medical, seeking a medical travel. The person, he knew his boundaries. Oh, I didn't reject you. But what the person also did was talk with his boss. And so we must know. So when you look at where you sit, what are the boundaries? When you look at the discussions you need to have, and this is where sometimes I tell people this. Sometimes some people are untouchables. But you know, what is the Achilles heel of an untouchable? Not knowing boundaries and limitations. An untouchable at times has access high up. But the truth is that, and so because they have access high up, they begin to breach protocol. And when, like one church says, power changes hands, it becomes their Achilles heel. It's like because they broke boundaries. So as much as possible, you might have access, but there's nothing that stops you from saying, oh, there's something we call, I am not in the picture. In project management, there's something called RACI. RACI is RACI. What is R? R means responsible. What is A? A means accountable. Now, normally in any project in your organization, you know who is responsible. Like your colleague said something. If I do this memo that requires input from CBN, it's my name and signature that is going to be there. So who is going to be held responsible? It's that person. Now, you know who is accountable? Oh, my boss most like times is accountable. However, there are two. The C and the I's are difficult sometimes to differentiate. Who is C? C is consulted. Who is I? I is informed. You know that consulted and informed are not the same thing. So you consult somebody to seek the person's opinion. And so somebody will say something like, I am not in the picture. What does that mean? You informed me, but I wasn't in the picture, meaning I feel I should be consulted, but rather you informed me. And these are the things that we need to understand. Who are the people I'm trying to deal with this? Who are the people I need to consult? Who are the people I need to inform? Like some of your subordinates are people, nothing stops you from consulting them. Consultation means let me hear your opinion. It doesn't mean I will take it. And so sometimes it's the same thing. I go consult with a manager in another department. I say, look, what do you think? How would you advise me if I need to do ABC? And the manager says, oh, I think this. Now, maybe I take a decision aligned to the manager's thing. Now, because the manager is in the picture, he can defend. But if now I'm doing something, I don't keep my boss, maybe I have access to our team lead and I don't talk to maybe the unit lead and I go to the team lead. You see, the truth is when the team lead talks to my unit lead, he says, oh, Briggs mentioned this. The team, your unit lead can kill that thing and it has a negative perception of who I am. So you don't breach protocol. You must know your boundaries and limitations. Finally, I think I have two more slides. Learn to read the wind of change. You see, lots of people have this, some people have this attitude, oh, it's not my portion. I reject it and all of that. I tell people this, change is happening. In BOI, change is happening. And so you must understand how you are aligning. You must be adaptable. So things are changing. They could request for maybe there's a new software the organization is trying to get, and certain things. The key question is how you managing the change. So you must be open to organizational change. Sometimes you don't like the change, but it's like, oh, the organization is calling for this. What do I do? How do I adjust my sales? John Maxwell said something. He said, the pessimist says the storm is over. The optimist says we'll wait till after the rains. He says the leader adjusts the sails, meaning whether the storm comes, whether the rain blows, the leader he adjusts the sail to manage that change. So change is blowing. And so you've seen some of us have been in the system 5 years, 10 years, and all that. So there's been changes. How you adapt becomes very critical to your growth and your sustainability. Yeah. The next slide. Like I said earlier, be a positive force. Be somebody that contributes. Be somebody that adds value. You see, as if you add how to play the politics and being a positive force makes you irresistible. So this, my colleague, who for 2 years was in limbo, they got a new MD. And the next thing they gave him was, they made him a GM procurement, moved him to GM safety. And there was something the MD always say, this guy is a positive force. He feels he adds value to the organization. I mean, I've seen the director stop by, just greet him and say, oh, why? Because he's a positive force, he's a contributor. They know he adds value. So regardless of what is happening around you, one of the things you must decide to be is that I will continually add value. And it's just a matter of time. Anyway, so questions. I believe this helps one or two. I don't know if you have questions. I just wanted to make sure it's brief. And because of some of the things we kept saying, politics, you can't run away from politics. I myself, I'm learning politics. I mean, I remember 2 years ago, I was chasing this deal, it was a huge deal, and I lost out in politics. I mean, who didn't I have? I had the MD in my corner, I had critical people, but I didn't do my stakeholder map effectively. I knew that there was somebody that was an anti-sponsor, but I felt that, look, I had too many strong people around me that this thing would fly. And so there were certain things that were changing. One critical stakeholder was retiring, and I did not insist that this thing be signed off. I didn't push it. I should have gone to sit in Abuja for 3 weeks, and I didn't do that. I was shuttling Lagos, Abuja, and I lost that opportunity. So you see, the truth is that there's no hard and fast rule when it comes to politics. You keep testing it. Oh, this works, this doesn't work. But what I shared, I know are some of the things that majority of the times, if there's a word like that, most of the times works. I don't know if anybody has any question. We've had this slide. This slide will be sent to you because it was just made as an addition, but I think we have it in the WhatsApp. Mr. Jede?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. It was a well dished out topic, honestly. And I will say I'm learning very late because I'm almost at my retiring level now. I'm one of those who doesn't believe in office politics, honestly. I believe that in my own little corner, the little one I know, it will see me through. I study accounting. So I believe that the little thing I know about this my accounting, nobody can actually mess me around. So when the issue of doing this more than necessary, I find this extremely difficult to bend to do or to move to the other side. So I didn't play the politics. Even to some extent, it have denied me kind of one benefit now that I would have regretted by my life. No, it was the issue of home ownership. People are collecting. I say I don't need it. I don't want it. But one of my immediate said, collect this thing. Everybody's collecting it. Do you know? It was like a kind of, they were forcing me to collect it then, back then, in 2012. And thank God I collected that thing because by now I wouldn't be saying I have property in Lebanon or anywhere. And people are collecting and buying it. Me, I said I don't want anything to affect my no, I don't want it. But it was kind of a prayer from a brother saying, no, you collect it. And today, the loan is fully serviced. Even if I'm leaving the organization now, the property is mine. So I'm just using that one as an example that I am one of those who doesn't normally join the something. But now it's a nice opener. Whenever I'm harmed now, we in the church, there's politics. So wherever I'm now, I know that look, those that are doing it, they are doing it for a cause. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yes, Mr. Bachi, you want to
interject? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Jegede, for coming out and saying what you're saying. I can assure you that you will have gone further than where you are if you had this understanding that was shared last. Because you see,
yes, I think you are right. If I play the policy the way other people are playing it, my level should have been a bit better now. I believe.
Yes. So still, while making the point, you see, there's a training I ran a long time ago, but this involving military people. I was trying to talk about how climbing up the corporate ladder, merit will take you only to a particular extent, but over and above that level, believe me honestly, over and above that level, if you don't have a good grasp of organizational politics, no matter how good you are going nowhere. Harold Lasky defined politics. I want to bring a different definition from all the one that Tonye brought. Harold Lasky, a very prominent British political scientist. Harold Lasky defined politics as who gets what, when, how, and why. And the reason is simply because of the scarcity of resources. And so you find out that politics takes place in the home, in the house, even with children and all of that. Anywhere 2 or 3 people are gathered, there will be politics. And so it is not anything also strange that politics is even in church or in mosques. So it is a constant. It is part of group dynamics. And that is why to not understand these things will make it difficult for somebody anywhere you go. And that's why you find some people, because they refuse to learn and they refuse to adapt, you find that they're like misfits in certain places and they believe everybody's against them. They are the only good people. They are the only righteous people. They are the only decent people. Yes. All the other people are bad people. And not as if
it doesn't work like that.
Eh?
I said it doesn't work like that.
I didn't hear that.
I said it does not work like that.
It doesn't work like that. And that's why, I think, this particular slide, I can tell you it's a last minute arrangement that Tonye did. And it is in response to some of because this training that we did, we just don't want to just come and be telling you just stuff you can go and read. It's so that the things you get here will add value to you, not only in your workplace, but even outside. And that's why I'm also happy that you are opening up and embracing what you are hearing, because you see, you know what? For as long as you still live, whether in bank or out of bank, the knowledge will be useful to you, because even in church, as you say, there's politics, you know better how to relate. Yeah. And even in the home, if you've not managed all the children well enough, you will now appreciate and know, because the resource are scarce and politics is involved. So this understanding helps. And it will help then also in the way we engage, even when we're engaging in assertive communication. So that's just in addition. Merit takes you to a particular level, but at certain levels in any organization, your MD who is there, you will find out that, there are many other qualified people to MDs, but it is in the political consideration he was put there. I'm not taking away any competence or anything. Now, there are certain people who also, by virtue of his role, will put pressure on him. So they'll send for favor, they will send, all kinds of things. And you find that the man too has to respond, has to be able to live up. Those things are not only in Nigeria, they're all over the world. Of course, the limits, the context varies, and there's nowhere people don't play politics. So I'm happy you got this last training, and we're happy to take in whatever comments other people have. Let me stop here.
Okay, any comments? We'll just appreciate it. We're almost wrapping up today then.
Yes, hello.
Hello?
Yes, yeah, Cooley.
Yes, now, so based on all what you have said now, are you saying that if I'm opportune to play politics, or if I find myself in a position whereby I can play it and it will favor me, I should take the opportunity, I should go ahead and take the opportunity?
Well, if you looked at what I mentioned, I talked about good politics.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good politics. So if you look at what Mr. Jegede said, they were like, look, you have access to this building, to this property. Why not go for it? You have the leeway. People are there, they'll back it up and all that. So yes. So when you have that thing and says, oh, this is what is coming your way. A classic case comes up. Somebody says, oh, we are promoting 5 people. And somebody came and said, Cooley, your name was mentioned. And the list, and you are qualified, you are competent. It's something you can do. And they said, just talk to the ED now. The ED is your friend. Will you say, no, I won't mention it to the ED? Or, exactly, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Do you know the reason why I'm actually laughing?
Why, sir?
Now, the reason why I'm laughing is this scenario that you just painted brought my memory back to 2007 2007 when I was supposed to go for interview. Now, I attend the Methodist Church. So on this particular Sunday, I was in church and I was having a discussion with our Sunday school teacher. So him and one other pastor, reverend, were all talking, all those youth reverend. So as we were discussing, I can't remember what exactly brought up the conversation, and then the company where I was going, the organization where I was going to have the interview was mentioned. And then they now said that they know that the ED of the organization is well known to this particular reverend that I was having a discussion with. And the next thing is my Sunday school teacher now pulled me aside and it was like, should he tell the reverend to help me put a word or put a word or two to the person on my behalf, since I'm going there for an interview.
We are losing.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
is it me or Cooley?
No, Cooley. Cooley is
so
going.
he now said, should he put in a word or two for me on my behalf? And I'm like, no, that I don't want it. That if you put in a word or two for me, and later on in the organization, people get to find out that, okay, I get to know, I came in, I entered because this person, they'll start giving that impression that you don't deserve that position. That was the impression I had. And that was exactly what I told my Sunday school teacher then. And got so good, I actually did the interview and I passed and I was picked without having to get in touch with that person. However, at the same time, in BOI, during my time in BOI, I've had the opportunity also, the privilege, to also work with a lot of top-ranked officials. And this political advantage thing also came up. And as I then, well, like Mr. Jegede said, like if I had had this kind of training back then, maybe I would have taken the opportunity and maybe I would have gone a little bit higher in terms of my where I am right now. But nonetheless, no knowledge is lost and no knowledge is a waste. So I think at least I've known that today. Hello?
Thank you, Cooley. Thank you for that. Well, like you said, and that's the part I like. No knowledge is wasted, no knowledge is lost. I myself, I was a slow learner when this came up. I believed, just like Mr. Jegede, I'm good in what I do and all of that and all this, all that. But people told me, Briggs, you have access. Oh, you know this person. Oh, you have, this person speaks highly of you. How come you haven't? Like, no, I don't want to disturb him. Until one day I was with this manager at 6. Why didn't you? I said, I didn't want to disturb you. He said, what of the other people that don't know me have been disturbing me? I learned something that day. But that's the same thing. So we just keep. Any other comments or contributions?
Yeah. Sorry, sir. Sorry, before you go, please hold on before you go. Sir, I just saw something that Andrew posted now.
Yes.
And he said that this kind of topic should have been introduced at early part, maybe when the officer is being inducted. Don't you think that if there is too much politics in an organization, it's not a good omen for that organization?
Please, Tonye, let me quickly.
Okay. Yes, please do, sir.
You see, this is it's not about too much politics. We may use the word politics, but basically what we have said is that this is ingrained in human nature. We said it is there in the family, it is there. And why is it so? It is because, of scarcity of resources. In economics, they call it alternative, when they're talking about alternative opportunity cost and all of that, and the reason is simple, at the end of the day, using Harold Lasky's definition of politics, he said politics is who gets what, when, how, and why, you know? And another person define politics as the continuation of war by other means. You know, you're not now, fighting, but you are jaw-jawing. Now, if at the end of the day, everywhere, 100 people join the army, they belong to a particular cause, and by the time they are all right, going up all through the rank, not everybody will be chief of army staff. Not everybody, there'll be certain deciding factors. And what we are saying is that at the end of the day, when you are at the base level, even entering the organization, a lot of factors and considerations come in. There are people who are qualified who don't get in, and there are people who get in. So, but even going up, because it's a pyramid, like Mr. Briggs has already said, you find out that merit takes you to a particular level, but beyond that, you don't go further. So it is ingrained in everyone to begin to learn these skills. And I agree with Andrew. People's skills are critical, except you're going to work in a work. Even, I love the way Andrew puts it. He said, even if you work in highly operational workplace like NASA, that's where you are working with computer and machines. Human beings are still involved. There will still be human engagement. And whether you like it or not, people's skills matter. And this, let's remove the word politics. Let's talk about cultivating people's skills, people relationship skills. And it is critical, in advancing career, in communication, and all of the others. I rest my case. Anyone who got other contribution?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, Leia.
Yeah, afternoon, Leia.
My name is Leia. This politics of eating is very interesting, but some of us don't want to engage in it because of fear of exposure. My question is, how do we successfully participate in it without being exposed? The exposure I'm talking about now is, for instance, I see somebody as somebody I can approach and probably voice out my intentions to. But unfortunately, this same boss may now go about, broadcasting my discussions with him that, as you can use this person, is requesting for this or requesting for that. But I feel those that are really playing the politics, they must have had a kind of affinity with the people they are playing it with successfully. Otherwise, if you don't have any link with a particular boss, it might be difficult. And once your case is being discussed in a negative way, that spirit will die. And that is why a lot of us will rely on our skills, our knowledge, our qualification, and ultimately on God to do the best. However, it's not really paying off, and it's very sad. Thank you.
Very sad, yeah, very, very sad. I agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Leia, for this honesty, and thank you so much. Yes.
Hello.
So let's hear Ed.
Yeah. Hello, Edward. Okay, let me hear Edward also.
Well, I think I share Leia's view as far as this issue is concerned. Naturally, there are some people that are reserved. There are things they will not do. Okay, they rely on their skills and all that stuff, and and they hope that eventually they will get the best. I am very, very glad that at least I have learned some new things as far as this course is concerned. At least the last 2 days has been quite expository. At least now I know better how to manage some of these situations, especially when you find yourself in one. What I want to say again is that I know there was a time one of my colleagues said something about dog, not they eat dog. And I told him jokingly, I said, dog, they eat dog. Oh. Now, if they're not spice and well, the other dog will not say, maybe dog in they eat. So we all laughed over it. But the truth of the matter is that when you mention that issue of corporate shack today, so my mind just raised back to what we discussed then. Because, this whole training has brought out a whole lot of things, you understand? A lot of things became clearer to me and how to manage this kind of situation, especially when I find myself in one. So thank you so much, sir.
Okay, Tonye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Edward. Now, let me ask Edward a question, then I'll use it to answer Leia's question. Edward, where are you from?
I'm from Ondo State.
You're from Ondo
Hello?
State, Akure.
Yes.
Okay, let's paint this. Yeah, hello. Now, let's paint
Okay, go ahead. I thought you didn't hear me.
Yes, I heard you. You're from Ondo State. Now, let me paint this scenario. Let's assume, Edward, are both parents alive?
Oh, just my dad.
Just your dad. Okay. Let's assume that Edward is celebrating his dad's 80th birthday. It's a party happening in Akure. Edward, you know me in BOI. So you know that, Edward, you know that for that party in Akure, the people that you want to invite, they will get invitation card, true or false?
True.
Now, the people you don't want to invite, they will see the WhatsApp message, true or false?
Well, true.
You're laughing, but is it true?
Of course,
you want to invite.
No. The truth of the matter, there are different levels of friendship. I understand what you're saying, absolutely.
Exactly. I know where I'm going to, but let me land where I'm going to. Now, Mr. Briggs is in BOI, so Cooley gets invitation, but Mr. Briggs, I see it on the WhatsApp. Now, all of a sudden, during the service, the church service, as we are coming out snapping picture, you see Mr. Briggs, who works with you in Lagos, is now in Akure. How do you really? You will express surprise, which is, I didn't really invite him. Oh, you came? You might even hug me. You will greet me. I mean, the truth is that by the time we get back to HQ in Lagos, my relationship with you has changed. What did I do? I came to Akure.
Yes.
Yes. And that's what I'm trying to let Leia know. Everybody is a human being, and every human being has a trigger. One trigger everybody responds to is anything that is important to them. Once you make it important to yourself, your relationship status changes. So you find out that when we are back in Lagos, you even, Briggs, thank you. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate this. And that is when I start cultivating my relationship with you.
Hello, you're breaking. We can't really. Hello, Mr. Briggs.
People make is a deposit. Have something for you to do something. Sorry, my internet today is really, really fluctuating. But what I'm saying is that whenever you do something for somebody, you are adding value. So there's positive deposit in that person. And for me to just walk up to Andrew that I don't know, or Cooley, and says, oh, Cooley, can you help me to do this? Of course, Cooley can go and meet you, Edward, and say, can you imagine Briggs is asking me for this? But if Cooley was my former boss and I was like one of his people, the truth is that if I want to reach Leia, I would not go to Leia directly. I will go to Cooley. Why? Because I have some level of credibility with Cooley. Cooley can even say, no, don't approach Leia. Let me talk to Edward first. So I go to Cooley. Cooley goes to Edward. Edward goes to Leia, and I get what I want. So the truth is that For you to engage people, you need to build credibility. First and foremost, you need to build friendship. The people you request things from in an organization are people that know you beyond their own KYC, know your customer is beyond BOI. It is like, oh, this person, oh, we know him, he attends this church, he has 3 children. Yeah, those are the kinds of people you can slowly get a bit vulnerable to make requests. You don't just go to somebody, I only know Cooley as a BOI staff. I don't know what state he's from. I don't know where he lives. I just don't know his wife. I don't know. I can't just. I'm also interested in this. It won't from Briggs is going around lobbying for this position, and I'll be shocked. So please, before you engage people, ensure that there is you have cultivated something. I know Mr. Bachi wants to say something.
Not really much. I think we the point has been made. I'm sure. Le and Mr. Jagede, I hope the contributions has been, because we still have a few things to cover. So has it answered your questions, your concerns?
Yeah, very correct. I agree with him.
Okay. So that we can make progress.
Yeah.
Still few things, and it's already almost 3. And we'll plead with you to stretch it with another 30 minutes so we can complete all the things we need to.
Before.
All right. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Briggs.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Okay. 2 things we can't, there's no need. We are sending you the evaluation forms. We'll send it into your emails. Please fill the evaluation forms and send them back to us, please, as much as possible before close of business tomorrow. Then we have an assessment. Because this has been wound into this, we would also send the link to the assessment. However, and that's why you need to go through what we have done today. You need to go through what we have done yesterday. And we also need, because we sent some pre-reading materials. Now, this assessment is timed, is a timed assessment, meaning that as you'd open it up, you'd have maximum, you have 1 hour. It's not that it's not school, but, and so once you open,
you're breaking. We're not hearing you. We're not hearing you.
Timed for 1 hour. So you have to.
You're breaking.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I can do.
Please check your connection again and go over it, because the instruction is very, very important.
Okay.
Please, apart from the assessment that you guys will be doing, in terms of the course content, there will also be, we would want a feedback on the whole facilitation. So there's a form, I think that will have also been sent out, that you guys will need to assess each and every one of us. And we would appreciate your honest assessment, and because your feedback is very, very critical. And also, I guess maybe you need to go back to your workplace.
Okay, am I back?
You're back now.
Okay, sorry. So I heard you. So we're sending you an evaluation form. Then also we're going to set an assessment. So the assessment is going to cover what was done yesterday, what is done today, and also part of that pre-reading course material. And so we need you to go through. Now, the assessment is a 1 hour assessment. And so you can take questions. Just some are multiple choice questions, but some are basically around what we did. Basically what we did. So we'll need you to answer it in your own words and your own understanding. So it can be, it's like an open book, but we're looking for your own words and your own understanding to help us understand what you understand about the course. So it's a 1 hour assessment and it's timed. We'll send.
We've lost you.
So yeah, no, you haven't. I'm here. So we'll send the link to you and you have all of tomorrow anytime to use today to just go through, because we just sent in a new material to go through everything. Then anytime tomorrow we will keep prompting you from the WhatsApp group that, okay, the link is there, you look at it and all that. And so you have all of tomorrow, morning, afternoon, night, to do this assessment. So the assessment, if you don't answer before the end of tomorrow, which is 12 a.m., if you answer on Thursday, it's not going to be valid, but we need it also. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay. Now, apart from the assessment, like we told you, attendance is also something that we're taking into cognizance. It's part of the requirement from your training department. I know that I want to confirm, because I noticed, for instance, there's someone who, it seems, sign in and walk away. It's never there. So, Mr. Mohammed, if you are there, I want to hear you. I need to hear, because there are people who have been here who have not spoken or said anything or engaged in any way. And participation is also part of the assessment. So this is for transparency, and we're doing it openly and we are stating it. So Mr. Mohammed, are you here? I asked of him in the morning. I'm asking again in the afternoon. He signed on there, but we understand all these games. So it serves no purpose. So if Mr. Mohammed is there, I'm saying it openly here on the on the online for the benefit of all, and we are recording it. And Mr. Mohammed is not here. Both yesterday and today, Mr. Mohammed signed in and was never involved. Mr. Mohammed Miner also signed in yesterday. He signed in also today, but he signed out. He's not been there. Just for the record, just indicating it here. Pius Neji never attended both yesterday and today. The same with Hawa Wadinga. I think Hawa sent a message yesterday that she didn't expose.
Sorry, Mohammed attended both yesterday's and today's class. I don't know, there's something wrong with the network. It has been throwing me in and out.
No, well, for all the times that he didn't send any message,
I am here.
You are here, but in the morning I called, in the afternoon. Because you never participated, never said anything. We never had you for anything. And I've been trying to be sure that you're there. Because part of the thing sometimes with this virtual thing, people sign in and walk away, and they're not.
I've been here all through, but honestly, I've been having issues with my network down here in Maiduguri. So the network kept throwing me in and out, in and out. It was so annoying.
Then you should have sent a message. That's why we had a WhatsApp group.
Exactly.
You see, we want transparency, so that when we write a report or we send anything, nobody will be thinking, oh, these people are otherwise. And that's why I'm flagging it here,
exactly.
for that purpose. Like this early today, what's his name? Ojegbe, Chuku Ojegbe was in and out, but he had to explain that he had a problem with his connection. And that's clear, that's noted. Some of the people who go out, they can be signing like Shalom people, later indicated in the WhatsApp. So this is the essence. You see, we teaching communication, and we want you, because these are the things that may be bringing problems even in the workplace. If people don't communicate, invariably, it affects the way they are assessed. It affects the way, and I'm trying to use these things to practicalize and bring part of the things that could be bringing problems for people, even in the workplace. And so even in this training place, we are using it as a basis to assess. We see the engagement of people. We see people contributing. We see people participating. We see people who have been present, and all these things, they help. So that is my observation. I'm glad you spoke up because I really wanted to provoke you to speak if you're there. And and at least, you are highlighting whatever is the problem you're having with the connection. All right. So just to clarify that, because we're rounding up and we want to be able to see the things that, you should know upfront. Mr. Briggs, please, if there's any that you want. I know there are one or two people who were absent yesterday who are here. Andrew was absent yesterday, and Mr. Sobes.
Yes, I was absent yesterday also.
Yeah, all right.
Andrew was, anyway, I heard it was in the afternoon, but I will look at our records. We have a Zoom records at the back end, so there is no problem.
Okay.
So, well, thank you so much for your, your certificates will be sent to the training and development unit by tomorrow, latest Thursday. And one of the things, because this is being recorded, we'll keep the WhatsApp group open till maybe Thursday. We will try to rework some of these things we said are recorded. So we'll try to get the links and put it on the WhatsApp group. If we think that maybe one or two, because we also have how we work on it, upload it, put it on the YouTube channel, so that it's something that can be there for reference but it's only going to be viewed privately, not publicly, because this is a private training. So well, thank you so much.
Hello, sir. Hello, Mr. B.
Yes.
This our deadline. Can you please help us to extend it so that we're able to read the materials and do something?
Mr. Bashi, what do you think?
Please.
Well, the idea was to see how we can wrap up everything and get this thing done with. So, except let's hear other people. Do you people think that we need to stretch it to like latest? Or you guys think 24 hours is okay to get it done?
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Steven. Thank you.
Yeah, the truth is that we've put so much on hold, and so there's a lot of pressure from our supervisors to come through on a number of reports. So if that timeline is extended, it's going to go a long way to ensure that we actually read what is it that is in the material and not just provide random answers, because ultimately the essence of this school training is to ensure that we are able to assimilate on what is taught here and then put into use in the workplace. So my position would be that if it is possible, that extension should be granted. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Stephen, quickly before all this, to be honest, if one has sat through and participated, one should be able to answer the questions, even without
definitely
referencing even the materials are just for backup.
Okay.
That's the first thing.
No problem.
Anyone who has participated should be, a bit on top of some of the things, except for people who have been very absent, even though they registered their present here. And then the second thing also is that the whole things are things that can be answered in an hour. So I agree you have a lot of things to attend to, but if you commit an hour of your time, and in fact, when you open it up, you don't even have more than an hour to sort it, to get it done. So we would expect that this will also be something you prioritize on, so that you can know that you have got this thing done and it's out of the way. And it's best to respond when it's still fresh, not when... Sorry?
Yeah, continue, sir.
All right, so at the end of the day, I guess the best we would do is to stretch it to Thursday. Today is Tuesday, so maybe let's give them till Thursday, and then
Yeah, Thursday.
so that
Okay,
by
Thursday.
Friday we
Thursday
are
is
done
fine.
with everything, and we want to get this out of the way. Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you, everybody.
I want to.
Yeah. Okay.
One last request I want to present to all of you, because having all come here, having learned, I have realized something. Whatever you learn that you don't also share with others, it is when you are discussing or talking with others that you find out that whether you remember or not will begin to come up, and it will challenge you. Then beyond that, it's also seeing how do you apply. And in application, beyond just on a personal level, I see that there are people who head groups here. There are some who are state managers. There are some who head maybe an office or a group. In view of the things we've learned, I want to find out for application, because knowledge is good, but but knowledge not applied serves no purpose. What are you thinking, by this exposure, by this you can bring to your office, either to the team you belong to or the team that you had, or, I'm just thinking, and because this is the greater part of it, and people can know you've been somewhere, you've learned something, and they can be able to see how it is adding value, not only to you, but to the workplace or the space you operate in. I don't know if there's anybody who is giving thought to that and may want to quickly respond. Anyone? The place is quiet.
The question again.
I said, I'm grateful that all of you are here, and at least it seems everybody's saying they've learned one thing or the other. And I'm saying knowledge is good, but knowledge not applied becomes an issue. And the question I'm asking is, have you thought of how what you have learned over the last 2 days, and you can find a way to bring it into application? Either, number one, share and teach others and see maybe it can help in your work dynamics, in your group dynamics, in your office, in your team. And you're thinking, how can this thing help maybe the communication process in your department or in your team or within your office? So over to you. I'm just asking if there's anybody who's giving thought. You're saying, if as I go back to office, this is what I'll do, or that's what I'll do.
Hello.
Yep.
Yes. On my own department, I'll definitely share it, because the nature of my work. A lot of organizations, people in internal control are referred to as the internal police. And when you are the internal police, nobody is your friend. So whatever action you take that is not positive is always a lot of people tend to assume that you have a beef with them or you have an issue with them. And that is why you are not approving or passing their requests. So a training of this will go a long way for be able to relate positively with our fellow colleagues, be it the senior colleagues as well as the junior ones, with regards to their work ethics.
Okay. Any other contribution?
Yeah, this is Stephen.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, so the lessons, a number of issues have been brought to light. Personally, I've learned a lot, and to say I am going to tie it to specific areas of application, if I start that narration now, probably will not be able to end it. But I think that my major takeaway would be that I will adopt a situational approach to the way I work, I carry out my work, because people are basically not the same. And so you need to understand the nature of your manager or whosoever you're reporting to or your colleague. So with that understanding, you are able to situate yourself in a better space to get the job done and to get results. So that to me is the way I'm going to approach the workspace going forward. Thank you.
All right. I guess if there isn't any other person, Mr. Briggs can take over. But if there is, then we'll give you space. But if not, Mr. Briggs will take over. Any other comment? Mr. Briggs, over to you. Mr. Briggs, you have not unmuted. So if you are hearing me, over to you. You can take over. Okay, while we wait for Mr. Briggs, one of the requests I said.
I'm here, sir.
Are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Please, I hope you remember one of the things we said we request is to see people's faces, even if
yes,
it's
even anyhow it is, please, so that we can take a snapshot.
So
please, if you can just unmute your video.
If you can put on your video, we want to see your face.
Say hello and send to everybody. Okay. Wale, Leye, Steve, Yekini. Cooley is in his Range Rover. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No, Cooley, don't go off yet. We want to snap first. We're waiting for everybody to switch on.
Just give us. So we're waiting for Steve. We're waiting for Mr. Jegede. Edward, Belinda, Asamao, Aluko, Jegede. Okay. So Edward, okay, Edward is on now.
Shalom, Aluko, Jegede, Mohammed, Belinda. These are all people who are still
actually on, but I don't know why you can't see me.
Yeah.
Asama we've seen, Shalom we've seen, Aluko we've seen, waiting on Andrew and
Jegede.
Yeah, Jegede.
And Mohammed.
Okay, well, we have a bit of over a quorum. Yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you, really appreciate it. We'll keep in touch and we'll keep the conversation going. So thank you for the contributions. Thank you. For me also, it was a learning. It was, okay, Andrew is here. So let me. Okay. Thank you very much. So we'll send the link and we'll definitely keep in touch and we'll get your evaluation forms. And so, well, for us in DNA, this is the beginning. So we look forward to more engagements and more interactions. So enjoy the rest of the day and God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, in my head.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.